is Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live. That's what we do here on Free Talk Live. We open up the phone lines and allow you to call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And you can call in and discuss what you want, but I've got a little piece of show prep here, Angie. You've heard about the New Zealand shooting, I presume, right?
I did.
It's hard not to.
Yep.
And turns out there's some lunatic goes out there and shoots a bunch of people at the mosque. Looks like 50 dead. And, I mean, you've got to basically be under a rock at this point not to have heard about this. But what I didn't know was it's illegal in New Zealand to share or even possess this video. They've got laws that they've had for decades that say you can't have this, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I saw that. I was really surprised.
Yeah, here from ZeroHedge.com. I don't usually use them as a source, but hey, you know, I danced with the one who brought me, and here's the story. New Zealand authorities have reminded citizens that they face up to 10 years in prison for knowingly possessing a copy of the New Zealand mosque shooting video, and up to 14 years in prison for sharing it. Corporations such as web hosts face an additional $200,000 fine. Those are New Zealand dollars. It's only $137,000 U.S. under the same law. Terrorist Brenton Tarrant, I guess, is the bad guy's name there. We're not supposed to use that name because somehow it makes people want to do it more or some darn thing. I don't know what it is. But he used Facebook Live to broadcast the first 17 minutes of his attack on the Al Noor Mosque in Christchurch, New Zealand at approximately 1:40 p.m. on Friday. The first two of mosque attacks, which were left 50 dead and 50 injured. So, I mean, in this, he live streams. Somehow Facebook is bad and wrong, I guess, for having live streaming. The politicians over there got really upset that Facebook even has an ability to live stream. And, I mean, lots of people millions probably of people use Facebook daily to live stream something. Probably boring, maybe exciting, but certainly not deadly. Sure. It's pretty rare that somebody streams something deadly on Facebook.
But it has happened.
Yeah, and the vast majority of it is just somebody rambling on at their laptop, would be my guess. Copies of the live stream, along with his lengthy manifesto, began to rapidly circulate in various file hosting sites following the attack, which was noted Friday, was quickly scrubbed from the mainstream platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Scribd, whatever that is. YouTube has gone so far as to intentionally disable search filters so that people cannot find the shooting materials, including footage of suspected multiple shooters, as well as the arrest of this guy and other suspects. So, I mean, I think that people should be able to find the things they're curious about. Yes, there are copycats. But are you really going to stop the copycats by stopping the sharing of the video?
No, I don't think so. If someone has an intention to do something evil, they're going to do it, whether there's a video or not. This
is the biggest news around, and I don't even know. I've heard that there's multiple copies, different manifestos going around, so you don't even know whether it's his manifesto or some other person's manifesto.
Right.
So now we've got fake manifestos. Is it illegal to share the fake manifesto or just the real one? I don't even know. On Saturday, journalist Nick Monroe reported that New Zealand police have warned citizens that they face imprisonment for distributing the video, while popular New Zealand Facebook group Wellington Live notes that the NZ police would like to remind the public that it is an offense to share an objectionable publication, which includes the horrific video from yesterday's attack. If you see this video, report it immediately. Do not download it. Do not share it. If you are found to have a copy of the video or have shared it, you face fines of potential imprisonment. So there you go. The very popular website is threatening you with imprisonment for having a piece of video. Now, this doesn't suggest that you've harmed anyone.
No, not at all.
It doesn't suggest you've created a victim.
Nope.
It just suggests that we have created a law surrounding the sharing of illegal materials.
Right. And who says it's illegal? It happened. It's fact. It's real.
Yep. And it's so weird that that they would do this. I mean, like, what about a bank robbery? What about a bike theft? I mean, is every crime that's caught on video now, or at least in New Zealand, I don't know, is every crime now bad and wrong to share because it's a crime and it was caught on video?
There are cameras everywhere, so everything is caught on video.
And I don't know necessarily why. I haven't seen this video. I don't care to go look for it. It's not my thing to go hunting down the videos of people getting shot. It seems awful to me. But I mean, I don't know that I want incarcerated young kids who don't have enough sense not to share this stuff. And I know that the two people that they've got in jail at this point are 18 and 22. At both of those ages, I was nearly worthless to society. But at some point or another, I managed to pull myself out of it.
Right.
Along with the censorship of online materials and investigation of content-sharing platforms such as BitChute and 8chan, where the shooter posted a link in the live stream of his attack, the social discussion service Dissenter has been blocked in New Zealand, created by the people behind Twitter competitor Gab.ai. Dissenter is a browser extension which pops up a third-party content section for any website where people can discuss content outside of the control of the website owner. So you have to have this as a plugin for your browser to even communicate to other people who have it as a plugin for their browser. They're disallowing that. It's like disallowing ham radios or something. I mean, ham radios are probably used more than this website. I don't even know.
I've never heard of it.
No, I have never heard of it either. Meanwhile, far-right commentator Milo Yiannopoulos, I heard this guy, but it's been some time since he's really got any good news, was banned from Australia in the wake of the New Zealand shootings after he said on Facebook that attacks like Christchurch happened because the establishment panders to and mollycoddles extremist leftism and barbaric alien religious cultures. Well, it sounds like he's going after Islam. I don't know that I agree with Milo Yiannopoulos, but then again, you have to have opinions in order to come up with your own opinion. Who knows whether this is true or not? There's no way to know. It's just an assertion. Australia's immigration minister, David Coleman, said on Saturday's statement that Yiannopoulos' comments were appalling and they foment hatred and division, adding Milo Yiannopoulos will not be allowed to enter Australia for his proposed tour this year. I heard that he is now allowed again. I don't know exactly. Look, that's not news. While the Christchurch attacks were utterly reprehensible, supporting them is now punishable in the United Kingdom. On Saturday afternoon, a 24-year-old man from Oldham, wherever that is, was arrested on suspicion of sending malicious communications in support of the mosque attacks. It's unclear what he has alleged to have written. So apparently just saying, I like this, yay, is, look, it's distasteful, but do we really need to lock people up over it?
No, I think it's just a matter of freedom of speech.
Right. In the United States, I would presume you could still say, I'm not going to even get that because I don't want the soundbite to go out. The Greater Manchester Police said in a statement that they had become aware of a post on social media making reference to and support for the terrible events in New Zealand. Police have made urgent inquiries, and a man aged 24 from Oldham is now under arrest on suspicion of sending malicious communications. It's clear that people are worried and really understand that it is truly terrible what happened yesterday. It's hard to put any form of words, said Assistant Chief Constable Russ Jackson, who added, we have nothing to suggest any threat locally, but none of this can diminish how people feel. And that is why we want to be there to offer support at this difficult time. You're not offering support. You're locking people up.
Yeah, they're offering rules.
Right. Thanks for the help. This is what could happen here in the United States
Absolutely.
At any time. I mean, these are English-speaking democracies right now, or things that call themselves democracies, or parliamentary democracy, whatever. They're not far removed from what goes on here in the U.S., and I can assure you that there are people who want to see somebody locked up who would make a statement in support or share a video like this.
It will happen.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, it's hard to believe that would be avoided. Government grows, right? The number's 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE here on Free Talk Live. Or you can use the Discord chat. Just go to discord.freetalklive.com to get started. is Free Talk Live, and you can call in and talk about whatever you want to talk about on this live edition of Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And you are welcome to call in. I want to tell you about freedomsphoenix.com. Freedom's Phoenix is a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. If you want the latest and freshest stories and perspective on current events from those who value liberty, freedomsphoenix.com has it. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. It's Freedoms with an S. Phoenix.com. That's freedomsphoenix.com. I get their daily dispatch, well, every day. It's called daily for a reason, and I think it's great. I get a lot of my show prep out of there, and I think you'll enjoy it too. freedomsphoenix.com. So, got a story here from zerohedge.com where they're talking about in New Zealand, and to some extent in England, but I'll explain that here in a second. But in New Zealand, it is illegal to share or possess knowingly the video of the shooter from a few days ago there, that the mosque shooter, and I was kind of stunned that was the case. I thought that seemed odd. I mean, it's a crime, sure, it's bad, sure, but the possession of the video of it, and why is that? Do you have any ideas, Angie, as to why they might make it illegal just because they don't like it?
I think they're afraid. I think they're afraid of what people might think and what they might see and how they might feel.
Yeah, they mentioned here, one of the UK cops mentioned feelings very particularly. Mm-hmm. He said regarding somebody who had made a post in support of this shooter, clearly not a hero, that he might make somebody feel bad, so they arrested the 24-year-old that made the post. No idea whether this person's drunk or whatever. Who knows? People go post all kinds of things online. I mean, just surprising to me that they would arrest somebody. But this guy's from Oldham, wherever that might be in the United Kingdom. I'm stunned by that.
Now, did he have a prior record, or was there anything showing that he should be arrested other than him sharing this video?
They didn't mention a prior record, but they did say that he's under arrest of suspicion of sending malicious communications.
Okay.
So there you go. Bad communications. I don't know. I'm just stunned by it as anyone. I thought we ought to get that out here at the start of the show so that people can hear it, because that's the big news. But you brought in an article that I thought was kind of interesting, and I was going to lead with it, but I found this, and I just felt like we had to mention that first. Yeah. So apparently, some preacher man came out with the statement that hell was invented by the church
to control people with fear.
Okay.
Yep, it's an older article. It was an interview done on Dateline back in August of 2006.
Okay.
Just the bishop's name is Spong. He leads in with, I don't think hell exists. I happen to believe in life after death, but I don't think it's got a thing to do with reward and punishment. Religion is always in the control business, and that's something people don't really understand. It's in a guilt-producing control business.
That's what I kind of believe, too. I mean, I like the arguments that theists make that, that something can't be destroyed, that maybe there's an afterlife. I like who doesn't want to believe in an afterlife? Just dying stinks. That's a crappy thing. So at some point in my life, I went from just constantly questioning what it was that I believed to just saying, look, I believe it. And I'm fine with that. I can live with it. I don't need to convince anybody else of believing something. This is what I believe. But I could never rectify in my mind the notion that a just and loving God would create a situation where I either have to believe one of the myriad of sets of holy texts that exist, that don't make any sense to me particularly, or I go off to the bad place. It just doesn't sit well with me. I mean, I feel like, look, if you've got to have the notion of hell for, someplace to put Hitler, all right, fine. Hell's for Hitler. But other than that, I mean, I'm just not quite ready for it.
He continues, and if you have heaven as a place where you're rewarded, or for your goodness and hell is a place where you're punished for your evil, then you sort of have control of the population. And so they create this fiery place which has quite literally scared the hell out of people throughout Christian history, and it's part of a control tactic.
So it's like the carrot and the stick, right?
Right.
So you've got the donkey. You hang the carrot out in front of the donkey, and when it gets tired of chasing the carrot, you just whack it with the whip or the stick on the hindquarters. And in that way, you have both the positive and the negative reinforcement that it takes to take a mindless population and move them forward
and have them do what you want them to do.
And I'm not saying that I don't think that Christianity and perhaps Islam, I don't know that much about Islam, aren't brilliant religions. I think that they're well made for, some percentage of the population that perhaps would be evil otherwise. I don't know who these people are, but I'll take your word for it. Some of them, maybe they would be evil in the absence of these religions. I'm not looking to get rid of anyone's religion or anything like that, but if the preacher man wants to come out and talk about it, then yeah, I agree with him. It doesn't make any sense to me either. I don't know why there would necessarily even be a reward in the afterlife either. My presumption is that if we exist after our death, we probably existed before our birth, and my guess is it's then life is something like a movie where you go for the immersion, for the conflict. Just to see this experience. It's got to be pretty boring to be immortal and just sitting out there all the time. So, maybe they need some entertainment. Just a guess. That's just me making some wild guesses. Some mortal being sitting on a little clod of dirt that's circling an insignificant star.
Morrison, the interviewer, continues, but wait a minute. You're saying that hell, the idea of a place under the earth or somewhere you're tormented for an eternity, is actually an invention of the church? Spong, the bishop, continues.
Who else would it be an invention of? I mean, who has the power and the sway to invent it besides the church? Welcoming Jay Noon here to the studio.
Hey, thanks for having me. Sorry I'm a little late, but Sir William Blackstone wrote this 4-volume book called William Blackstone's Commentaries on English Law. And I don't know if it's in the actual commentaries of English Law, which was actually the number 2 seller books number 2 selling book after the Bible when the United States was being settled by basically the English colonists. Anyways, William Blackstone, who I've studied very much because our common law system is really pretty much built on a lot of what he had to say back then, he described hell as a room below the judge's chambers, or a room below the courtroom. And he talks about how a lot of this, stuff comes from intertwining of Vatican and control over English crown, or some people would say it was English crown control over Vatican and vice versa, where a lot of our law comes from.
So that the hell that we believe in today may very well have just been some spiritual representation of a very real situation going on between the bureaucrats arguing about religion and law, right?
Well, I've been in that room underneath the court room, and that's the jail cell.
Oh. Free Talk Live, 855-450, free.
The Bitcoin.com wallet is a simple and powerful full-featured wallet that allows you to send and receive Bitcoin, BTC, and Bitcoin Cash, BCH, with anyone, anywhere in the world. It supports both single and multi-signature wallets and is available in multiple languages. The Bitcoin.com wallet is available on Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, and iOS devices. Use the Bitcoin.com wallet to buy, send, store, and receive both Bitcoin, BTC, and Bitcoin Cash, BCH. Learn more at wallet.bitcoin.com. That's wallet.bitcoin.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. I'd like to remind you that if it's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, no matter where you are, we are live here on Free Talk Live. It doesn't matter whether it's Christmas, or Thanksgiving, Independence Day, we're here. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
The number is 855-450-3733. We're going to get back to this story about how this preacher Spong. I've heard his name before someplace. Is talking about how hell was invented by the church, but just dropped off the phone line. Sorry. I guess we are going back to that story. That's how these things go. Jay, it was somebody named Eli who was calling in to say thanks for something or another. God knows. It could have been a good story, though. We'll see. The number is 855-450-3733.
Spong continues, I think the church fired its furnaces hotter than anybody else, but I think there's a sense in most religious life of reward and punishment in some form. The church doesn't like for people to grow up because you can't control grown-ups. That's why we talk about being born again. When you're born again, you're still a child. People don't need to be born again. They need to grow up. They need to accept their responsibility for themselves and the world.
I like that. I said this has been some time ago that I said it, but I said for myself, I believe that heaven and hell exist right here on earth, and they're of our own makings. That obviously bad things can happen to you that aren't your actions, but I've become relatively obsessed in my life with making as good a decision as I can make in a given circumstance. Whatever a decision is to be made, besides food, I'm really bad at that. Whatever the decision is to be made, I try to, what are the possible outcomes here? I don't want to overthink it or anything like that, but, usually you can find one or two good decisions you could make versus a whole bunch of bad ones. And if you make, success is a series of good decisions lined up. So, I'm just presuming that life's going to be better and better as things go by if I continue to make more and more good decisions. Probably should really work on that food thing, though. Angie, you can help with that, right?
Of course.
But Mark, you have a pretty good I've gotten to know you pretty good the past few years, and you have generally a good attitude. You're fairly positive about things. You don't see you be like negative about stuff. And
I try not to take myself too seriously.
And I have some friends that I grew up with that are like these negative Nancys, or they're always telling me some reason why I can't do something. And we got these people in this liberty movement too. It's like, you're going to fight the property taxes? You just can't do that. Just pay them. Don't waste your time. And it's like, I'm like, what'd you move here for? To down the situation? But those are the people who, like, every time I go into court, it costs me a ton of money. I take a day off of work and just, I don't care what you're going to do. If you're going to, learn how to ride a horse, you're going to learn how to drive a car, you're going to learn how to fight the system. You got to have a good attitude about it, just in general. And I've found I don't put any effort or any energy into people anymore that just have like this, bad attitude, this, glass half full sense. And
right.
So people do create their own heaven and hell. And, I believe, I got an awesome wife. I got a nice property now. I do work. I love every day. I work with people that I enjoy working with. So I believe that I've created my own, I wouldn't say it's heaven, but, it's pretty darn close to it. I'm certainly not living in a hell situation.
Yeah, hanging out with Shaolin, I imagine you are feeling a little bit of heaven. Let's go to Eli calling in from Lebanon. Eli, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Gotcha. What's on your mind, Eli?
Groovy. I just wanted to send some praise Jay's way. I met him the other day just off the bat, and I've been asking around, getting a feel for the different areas in New Hampshire, and people have everywhere, in every area of New Hampshire, have rated Jay highly.
Oh, yes.
They say Jay's a groovy guy, a great guy.
He's a super activist, there's no doubt.
Well, thank you.
Well, not just a super activist, but he seems – because there are plenty of people who do a lot and put a lot on the line in New Hampshire in what they're whatever they're particularly interested in doing and doing to the fullest extent. But it seems like Jay is able to do that and also maintain like a really good reputation with people across the state. And I think that's great.
Yeah, if you want to be part of a movement of liberty lovers, you can be part of the great freedom migration here to New Hampshire. Go to shiresociety.org and check out the pledge we've got there. Maybe you'll want to come and hang out with us here in New Hampshire. It's for people who are really into the ideas of liberty, but if you're willing to put a little time and effort into it, well, we're here for you.
Well, and it's not really that hard in New Hampshire, in the freedom in this freedom community to have a good reputation when you're working with a bunch of other solid people. You're interacting with a bunch of other solid people. And this is such an open community. You figure out who the, the undesirables are really quick. They are outed because all we have here is our reputation. And like, for example, I have a duplex house, and the other side, the tenant had lived there for a couple of years, had moved out, and he'd given us, plenty of notice. He'd been looking for a house to buy. And so we kind of put out to the community, hey, our small dome's going to be up for rent. And there was one particular guy who sent me a text message who clearly does not care about his reputation. I'm not going to say his name, but he moved here and he was free stater, blah blah, and he's kind of like burnt a few bridges. And I was like, nah, dude, you we don't need you. You were not a good tenant for this other friend of mine, and then the guy before that, and then another guy calls me up and he says, hey, I'd like to rent your place, and he's a solid dude. And he's going to rent it. And I didn't even have to try, for example, to find a tenant to fill that. But and the thing is I want to do a talk about this actually at the Alt Expo tent during Fork Fest and Pork Fest this year about how the golden rule, tolerance, and forgiveness are very essential to the freedom community. So if you got a neighbor who's loud and plays music you think is obnoxious, don't call the cops. Go over and have a talk with them. Be like, hey, I'm going to try to go to sleep at this hour or whatnot. And also, if you got and just treat your neighbor like you treat your own kids. In fact, if you love your neighbor's kids more than you love your own kids, it's going to be a really good community. And that's just kind of something that I think is lacking a little bit, because you still got some of these people who come, they want to kind of be crotchety and cranky, but they're still trying to be, libertarian. And we can weed that out a little bit. It'll stop a lot of the infighting, and we'll have right now it's very harmonic. It's a very good community, and I love it. And that helps too. Is everything I'm doing is stuff I like to do, and it's all people I like to work with. So it kind of makes it easy to just get along with everybody.
Eli?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I thank you for that as well, because I am coming from an area where there was a lot of transients where people didn't really live for a long time, and subsequently there wasn't really a community. And I had people actually a woman obsessed with me for flying an ANCAP flag out of my my last domicile, to the point where she was looking in my vehicle and recording what was in my vehicle, as well as calling the cops on me.
Busybodies.
Just trying to get me in trouble with the cops. It kind of blew my mind. And I repeatedly tried to extend dinner to her, a dinner invitation, such that she could talk to me and we could have a relationship and actually get to know me. But unfortunately, that was absolutely not what she was interested in doing. So thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the call, Eli. I appreciate it. And welcome to New Hampshire. The number, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE here on Free Talk Live. Talk Live. Yeah, you can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
And I want to tell you about Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin related. Bitcoin.com, you can choose a Bitcoin wallet. You can get some free Bitcoin. You can buy some Bitcoin. They can show you where to help spend your Bitcoin, places like save@purse.com. You can also read the latest news, which is important, news.bitcoin.com, or engage with the community in the Bitcoin forum. You can learn more. By the way, there's games there. You can play games with your Bitcoin. Learn more at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com. Let's go to the phones. We've got Andrew calling in from Alabama. Andrew, you're listening to, on LRN.FM.
Hey, Mark, thanks for taking my call.
Sure, what's on your mind?
Well, I heard you say a few minutes ago that we're talking about reputation and just that you're the type of person, aside from what you eat, you always make a rigorous, if you will, attempt to always make the right decision or do the right thing, or in other words, do good.
Yeah, string good decisions together.
Yes, and I believe that you can, like, I'm that way too. I believe there's always a good decision that you can make. You never have to make an evil decision or one that causes evil or harm. Right? I think there's always, and if you can't think of something, you're just not trying hard enough. Like, there's always some creative way to bring good to a situation. Right? But what I've heard, and so I've been getting into these conversations with people who I just talked to, having a beer with or whatever, if they believe the same thing, because there's this concept of the greater good, right? And I don't believe in the great. I think, greater good, the greater good is evil, because it's the situation that you're put in where you have evil thing number one and number two, and one's like a -10 and one's a -2 evil. So you choose the greater good, but it's really the lesser evil. And I don't.
Can you give me some examples of what it might be like? I mean, I'm sure people, not that I disagree, I'm just asking.
Like taxes.
Okay.
Taxes as an example, or like any social welfare or like program or whatever. They'll say, well, we have to steal from you and take this. We have to do it for you, but for everybody. It's the greater good, right? Or
right. If we don't steal, threaten to take your home away from you and steal money through property taxes, then poor kids won't be educated.
And what about the roads?
On a more simplistic basis, like if your mother tells you to steal, well, thou shalt obey your parents, and then thou shalt not steal. It seems like you have to choose an evil. But even then, it's like, no, if my mom told me to do that, I could just like go out and ask to borrow a loaf of bread, or like do some dishes and earn a loaf of bread. Like I could think of a lot of ways I could do good and still provide the same end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like I just don't ever believe that you have to choose evil. And like these, you always think of some extreme circumstance, but really, what do you think about that? Like, because I haven't been able to think of one example that I would have to choose evil.
Yeah, I think that, there's, I guess, what comes to mind to me is voting. When you talk about lesser of two evils, voting always comes to mind. And I guess what I would say regarding voting is that you're always going to have, at least when it comes to voting for politicians, if you're voting for, say, a line item where it's like, should we tax X geographic area for X amount of money in order to pay for, Y. In that circumstance, then, the answer is clearly no, we shouldn't. But in the case of some politician or another, you may be, like just choosing which one of these politicians is least crappy. And that I tend not to judge people based on their choices for whoever the politician is, because maybe I'll agree, maybe I'll disagree that it was the best choice of those 3 or 4 or 5 people, whomever it might have been. But ultimately, we're all put into a catch-22 where we can't really pick the right choice.
Unless you're in New Hampshire and you got a whole bunch of libertarians. It's pretty nice when I lived in Manchester, in the fall, and I voted. I literally voted for a whole bunch of people that I knew they were on the ballot.
They were going to be better choices.
That was really cool. Well, at least if they did something stupid, I could go up to them and rattle their cage and be like, "What the hell's wrong with you, man?" But half these politicians you can't do that with because, I don't know.
That much is true. Andrew?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great example, I guess, where you're having to pick between politicians, all of which are a bad choice. But then, like, surely there's somebody out there running for president who, I mean, there has to be someone who, even if it's your neighbor, like, or Ian, hey, Ian, if I vote for you for president, would you do it? I mean, I don't know if he would or he wouldn't.
Yeah.
But that's your choice, the way that you would believe in.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it is for me when I vote for a libertarian. The chances are good that the libertarian nominee for president isn't going to be taking office in 2 years. So when I vote for them, whether they are, the most stalwart libertarian that's ever existed or just a shadow of that, it doesn't really matter, because at that point I've really just cast a vote for a third party. And, those are the choices I make. What my criteria for voting is that they have to be statistically able to win the presidency. So there were only 4 people on the ballot in 2016 that could have done that. The Green Party, the Libertarian Party, Republicans, and Democrats. And I chose to vote for the Libertarian in that circumstance. And, it's not like I've regretted it. Thanks for the call, Andrew. Appreciate the topic. The number is 855-450-3733, 855-450-FREE. And that's how the story we got onto that topic with was this preacher man that's saying that hell was invented by the church. Please go on, Angie.
Morrison, the interviewer, asked Spong, what do you make of the theology, which is pretty quite prominent these days in America, which is there is one guaranteed way not to go to hell, and that is to accept Jesus as your personal Savior? Spong goes, yeah, I grew up in that tradition. Every church I know claims that we are the true church, that they have some ultimate authority. We have the infallible Pope. We have the Bible. The idea that the truth of God can be bound in any human system, by any human creed, by any human book, is almost beyond imagination for me. I mean, God is not a Christian. God is not a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist. All of those are human systems, which human beings have created to try to help us walk into the mystery of God.
Right. I always feel like if somebody says, this is the only way, that person's just looking to control me. Maybe not consciously that's what their plan is, but that's what they believe, and they're being, ultimately controlled by somebody else. It seems like a cruel God to me that would hand down the Bible to us, and this book that's been translated, and obviously there's been mistranslations. We can see them historically that they've existed. Doctrine has been handed down. It's confusing. And really, here's a sticker for me. May not be a sticker for everybody, but it is for me. It says very specifically that you have to believe in Jesus' name. Jesus said you have to believe in his name. But Jesus' name isn't Jesus. It's Yeshua Ben Yosef. And the idea that I am going to believe in the Greek name of Jesus, I find this confusing. I understand not everybody does. But am I going to go to hell because a fair and just God is going to throw me into eternal torment, me, one of his children, into eternal torment because I didn't believe the story? If my son, and I only have one, I have an only begotten son, right? If he does something bad, I don't decide to torture him for even a short period of time in order to teach him otherwise. Now, I'm not saying punishments don't exist at my house, but they're pretty minor compared to something I would call torture. And this is torture for all eternity, so that seems bad.
I personally think the whole Jesus character was manufactured by the Vatican Church to enslave mankind, and a lot of Jesus-loving Christians really they get offended, they get upset, and they disagree with me.
Sure,
and
I'd say that Jesus was just one of the many faces of God, and that it's a pathway.
And I don't disagree that Jesus was actually a man that did walk the earth at one time. I mean, I've met a few Mexican guys named Jesus, and we all called him Jesus because
it's fun.
We just all giggled about it. Exactly. Every time we called Jesus, he would just smile.
We had a cab driver in Mexico. His name was Jesus, and he'd go out and get meals for us. I'd say, "Thank you, Jesus, for our food."
Nice. So, anyways, I've studied this stuff a lot, and I really believe that we all have our own personal Jesus that the state creates, and we resurrect it every time we sign a government document that has the X next to it, and we keep on enslaving ourselves through this resurrection of our own personal Jesus.
So there's a cross there, and your signature somehow raises whatever's on the cross?
Somehow.
That idea?
In the paper world, yes.
Got it. The number is 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live.
Go to themorganreport.com and receive updates and insights you will not find anywhere else on the web. You will discover how to grow and protect your wealth under all market conditions. The free Morgan Report provides interviews, webinars, question and answer sessions, plus mind-blowing videos. As David Morgan says, let my passion create your wealth. TheMorganReport.com. TheMorganReport.com.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. You are free to call in and talk live here on this live edition of Free Talk Live. It's between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Wherever you are, you can call and talk here. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
The number, 855-450-3733. Angie, in the last hour, we were reading an article from some preacher out there, Spong, who is saying that hell was created by the church as a way to control people through fear.
Right.
Yeah. How much longer does this go?
It just has a couple more sentences.
Yeah.
Spong continues that I honor my tradition. I walk through my tradition, but I don't think my tradition defines God. It only points me to a God. That's
kind of how I see it too. Is there's many ways to get to a relationship with whatever the deity out there. This mystery that so many of us believe that exists, and one can say, look, there's no proof for a God, and I got you. There's not a lot of proof. A lot of people have experiences that lead them to believe that there's a God, and I'm not going to tell those people that they're wrong. But what one can point to is that the human species apparently is theist, right? Like there's... Best I can tell, there hasn't been a culture yet that is just not interested in the supernatural, God, or something like that. They all believe in something beyond what we currently have,
and that's what makes things fun.
Yeah, well,
I love all those stories.
Yeah, I don't. Look, to me, I think whatever it is that you've got going, that's your relationship, and it's cool. For me, it's not going to be my motivating thing because I've got my own story, and I appreciate this Spong guy coming out and sort of probably giving a lot of people some relief in this area, because it can be really stressful thinking that you're always failing and you're always guilty of something, that this eternal being is always watchful over how much you're giving praise and how much you're you're touching yourself at night. No.
That's a sin.
God.
And
frustrating.
There are these people that I know, now that you mention it, it brings back some memories. Remember this one kid, in high school, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to hell anyway, so I'm just gonna do whatever." He just didn't care.
Right.
I mean, he's just convinced he's going to hell no matter what.
So at that point, he bought some portion of the story and just decided, okay, that's it. I might as well do everything wrong.
Yeah, he's one of these guys. See you in hell, brother. When he walk away from her or something, or see him somewhere, and he was just.
Did he ever end up in prison?
He kind of might be dead, actually, now I'm thinking about it. He's definitely on that list of kids that went to high school with that got into heroin, and that list every now and then on Facebook. You see another overdose or whatever. He's had a chronic struggle in life. But I mean, I knew this guy since we were 7-8 years old, and his parents were like iron fisted I don't know.
Religious sorts?
I don't even know if I was going to say Catholics, but I'm not sure. I don't know what. There was some kind of religious. You're going to burn in hell, kind of folks, and it really screwed this dude up.
It was just ingrained in him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel for those people in those situations, because something similar happened to me. I believed all the things that I've been told in Sunday school and at private school and all that stuff, and then one day I stopped believing them because I didn't believe every aspect of the story. I remember the Noah story didn't make much sense to me. So I'm like, well, if this is wrong, then it's all wrong. Because I was taught that it was all right? Like, either this is the unerring word of God or it isn't. And once it wasn't the unerring word of God anymore, then it wasn't. And then I didn't believe any of that. That sent me on this path of destructive behavior that ended me up in, ultimately in prison. And I think that although that particular type of rearing may really work for some people, I think that you need to understand that there's another side of the coin, and that it really doesn't work for other types, and that one needs to be careful about what sort of statements one makes surrounding those kind of things. Let's go. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I got to say, my father raised me for up till about 5 with no mom. He was a single dad, and my grandmother had us a lot when we were little kids. And she was one of these. She was raised like hardcore Irish Catholic, but she was like very spiritual. She was really into like putting the crystals, in the moon when there's a full moon, and she was really into like angels are looking out for you, and karma. Like I can remember, I was in Kmart, and I don't know, I broke something on a thing, and she like slapped me and made me like pay for it and buy it, and then she told me karma was going to get me for doing that. So, like, my, and then, like, I don't know, a couple weeks later, some toy I really liked. I mean, I was, like, in first grade. I remember telling my teacher about this in first grade.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, and the toy broke, or whatever it was, and my grandmother was like, yep, that's karma. So just a couple more toys going to break, and your karma debt will be paid, because I was just like,
broke this other
I was
thing.
being a little bastard. I just kicked something in Kmart, and it like flew across, and it broke, and it was like $30. My grandmother paid for it and made me like work it off for $1 an hour.
But wasn't that doing the right thing? I mean, you paid your debt to karma because you paid for it and you worked for it. So why would karma come back to get you later?
She had this theory of like, you got to have to, like, if you do something bad, you have to pay back a triple debt or something. That It was just something she like.
Some quantity.
Sure.
Let's go to Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Oh, yes. I've been going to the senior center, but I have requested a chapel.
Are you senior?
Or meditation room. At the senior center.
Are you a senior?
No, I'm going to qualify. I could be a member this July 24th.
What's that?
So
July 24th should be a senior.
Okay.
Okay, so my whole point is that, well, they think that, and then they say, well, the gift room is empty. Nobody wants to run it. So there's an empty room. It just sits there. And then I like to, like, meditate for 15 minutes or do my decrees, chanting, and it always bothers people. Because they ask me, "Is that Christian?" And I say, "Well, I pray to Buddha and Hindu religion," and they're like, and they report me and they turn me in so that I cannot. So then I cannot pray anywhere in that place. So, but the thing is, all the hospitals like that take government funding. Like UNM Hospital, for example, it's government funded, and even the college, they have a Catholic chapel, a huge one.
Yep.
And they
airports have them too.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. All the universities they have a Lutheran center and for an organization, and they take taxpayer funding. This whole thing about it takes taxes, so we cannot have any religious thing in this property. That's a bunch of nonsense because, like I said, a hospital has 2 chapels.
Yeah.
And the colleges have, like, this, like I said, a huge Catholic center. I mean, huge, with, like, 8 different rooms. So...
Yeah, I'd say as long as there's a chapel, and that chapel's not necessarily set aside for one particular religion or something like that, yeah, that makes sense to me that any tax-funded organization can have that if they want.
Well, here's the thing.
The whole thing is that what I'm saying is what they don't want is like a mission where they preach to you. I've been to the like rescue meeting. They preach to you for an hour before they feed you like hot dogs and beans.
Yeah.
For the homeless. So that's completely their organization. You know what I mean? So, but what I'm saying is if religion is not pushed and forced on you and beaten into you. And you're going there out of your free volition to practice your own faith, open to all religions. You pray and meditate, but it's a room. So why it should be tax funded? They do very well in all the hospitals. They do well in.
Every time I've seen a chapel, it's been empty, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be at some tax funded thing. Sarah, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE here on Free Talk Live. Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
Jay, Forkfest 2019 is coming up June 13th through the 18th.
Oh, we're going to have a good time.
Rogers Campground. I heard you're going to be having Man Camp there. Now, there's going to be several other events going on, including the big gay dance party and a few other things.
Oh, Buzz is putting on a big gay
nope.
or no?
No.
Okay.
This is
somebody else?
Yeah, Derek and Steven are.
Oh, right. I heard him talk about that maybe last night, actually. Yeah.
So tell me about Man Camp.
Oh, I'd love to tell you about Man Camp. So Man Camp, the idea about Man Camp is to restore confidence in mankind. I'm going to be 40 years old this summer. My peers are virtually useless. They are virtually useless. My peers have been virtually useless my entire life.
Yeah.
They just, anything happens that, I wouldn't change a tire. I just call AAA. I mean, but the thing is, I'm not sure if I could do it safely. People are like, every Wednesday I have a good friend, and he's actually not a useless guy. He's a very handy guy, but he brings his truck to me almost every Wednesday. Every other Wednesday he comes down, and we work on his truck or one of his trailers. He's got a farm here in New Hampshire. He's a free stater, and we do. He's like, I'm going to do Man Camp. So, but the thing is the people who want government. There's two kinds of people who want government. Those who don't have the confidence to take care of themselves and feel they need government to take care of them. And then there's those who are these authoritarian types who want to prey on those people who don't have the confidence to take care of themselves. And the first group I had mentioned is much larger than the second group.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that
people
are being preyed on than are authoritarians. So my idea is let's do some things that that I got to grow up doing because I grew up on a farm. I am so blessed. I grew up where my dad was like, and it's probably a good thing that my dad was a single father because he was had to take me to work with him. He's like, you're cleaning stalls. And I don't even remember he told me to clean stalls. I just did it. I mean, when I was 6 years old, I taught a 15-year-old his first job, and that was cleaning stalls. So when we had a forge there and we did some iron working and we did a lot of horseshoeing and we were always fixing and repairing stuff. So I got a homestead property now. There's a lot of work that needs to be done around there. I was on the roof today, actually. And so the idea of Man Camp is at Forkfest, we're going to set up the blacksmithing area. We're actually, I think I got a girl who's going to teach an oxygen acetylene class and how to cut steel with an oxygen acetylene torch. We're going to have a little get together on sharpening chains and chainsaws. It's something we need in New Hampshire. We're going to have a lot of kids activities. I want to know
how to sharpen a knife well too. I've found over time that sometimes I sharpen them better than others.
Yeah, and the thing is so my brother Josh is actually going to do that. He sharpens his horseshoeing his hoof knife. He's a horseshoer. He's a farrier. Several times a day, and he's he can make your knife a razor blade that'll hold if it's a decent knife. So we are we're trying to get someone to do a little knife making class there. A few of the people I've talked to about doing it are a little intimidated. It might be me who does it, and I'm not super. I don't have a lot of knife making experience. I've made a few knives. I got to polish up on it. But yeah, there will actually be a knife sharpening thing there. There's basically activity, and we're gonna do all kinds of things. I'm actually making for Free Ross 2019. I want to do a group effort. I'm gonna have it's gonna be basically a sheet of sheet metal, and we're gonna be able to take a MIG welder, and we're going to teach people how to weld with a MIG welder. We're going to actually do some gas oxyacetylene welding classes, the way that my great-grandfather welded when he worked for the power company, Con Edison. He was welded with gas, hot flame.
Huh.
And so we just did a little bit of this up in Bangor, Maine. We were up at the Slopies, and Ernie Hancock was up there, and we made some ornamental iron art for hanging, basket holders and stuff and plants. with Derek Slopey's kids. They were
getting time for Mother's Day.
7 and 12. Yep, we made some, and even Derek's wife, she got right in on it. And my wife Shallon, they were, pounding hot steel on the anvil. And
I'm sending my son to you over the summer for a version of Man Camp, so he can learn how to do many of these things. More or less, he's just going to help you in whatever you're doing, as opposed to having a class for him.
Yep.
But that's how people learn. They do these things. If you want to be involved in ForkFest and that and everything else, go to forkfest.party. Got a Telegram chat, ForkFest forum, forkfest.party. To get involved. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm interested in Man Camp.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of excitement about it. I actually made a Man Camp Telegram planning chat on Telegram. I got to do a public chat for Man Camp actually next. And there's a lot of excitement. The free rosting we're going to build is basically going to be a piece of metal art that everybody can put their name on, or I'm going to basically make it so you make it like a $10 donation to the free Ross. And then we're going to take
sign their name in a TIG welder.
In a MIG welder, actually. Sign their name in a MIG welder, and or they can bend up some metal. I'm going to make it so it's blank, and people are going to start it, and I'm going to help everybody through it. And then we're going to auction that off, and we're going to have the free Ross benefit auction, which I'll be the auctioneer for, either on the Friday night or the Saturday night of PorkFest. But and there's just the Man Camp thing is it's going to be awesome. I got a lot of people are very excited about it. People coming out wanting to volunteer and teach things.
Now you call it Man Camp, but women can sign up too.
Well, women are men that have a womb. We're all mankind. I want to get away from using the word person. People. I'm always correcting people. They're like, "Oh, this person," and I'm like, "Oh, a person." If you look up that definition, is a corporation, trust, or other legal fiction. That's what a person is, and it's just the language has been so molested. And also, it's everybody's like, "Oh, the man's going to put me down." It's like, well, be the man. Then you won't be being put down. Stop being anything other than a man. And it is just mankind. And, people get hyper feminist about things and oversensitive. I just don't even pay attention to it.
But you're happy to help anybody learn to weld.
I'm happy to help anybody learn how to do anything they want.
Let me ask you this. TIG welders for aluminum?
You can use a TIG welder for aluminum. I also have a MIG welder set up for aluminum.
Okay, so what is the difference between a TIG and a MIG?
Well, TIG is tungsten inert gas, but basically, so I taught Ernie and Derek did some TIG welding. TIG welding is just welding instead of using gas for your heat to melt two metals together, you're using electricity to melt two metals together. And TIG is tungsten inert gas. And inert gas is argon that removes all the atmosphere so you can make a really nice, clean, precise weld. Ernie Hancock has never TIG welded in his life. He's 57 years old, but he's done a lot of gas welding. That guy was doing TIG welds, he had been better than a lot of guys who have been TIG welding for a couple years.
Like a pipe fitter.
Because it's the similar process of gas welding. So a lot of the old timers do get TIG welding down pretty quick.
Got a story here from the LA Times that I want to go over, and I think I find this headline very surprising. More households now subscribe to some kind of streaming service than traditional TV, according to a new report. So
I believe it.
The cord cutting thing is no longer just a marginal thing that's being done. It is mainstream. Cord cutting is mainstream now. This is the end of the old media, broadcast media, that kind of thing. Now we've got something different going on.
Well, the marketplace has been opened up, thanks to internet.
It's true. You can get YouTube right on your TV.
YouTube, Netflix,
instant gratification.
Yep.
That too.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the Realtor Mark Warden.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Warden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Warden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Talk Live. You're welcome to call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. We're reading this article from the LA Times here that says that now we've reached the more than 50% threshold where more households subscribe to a streaming service than to traditional TV. Now, it's possible that a household subscribes to both. But now we have a situation where more people are subscribed to, more households subscribe to a streaming service than to traditional TV, and I think that this is it's a turning point. And
a lot of people I know, the only reason that they actually have cable television is because the bundle is cheaper for like broadband phone, internet access, and cable. Now we have this little cable company called TDS where I live in Henniker, New Hampshire, and it's like $41 just for internet, and there is no it isn't cheaper with the bundle, so we don't. I got no reason to subscribe to
pay
cable.
Extra.
Yeah, so I actually have never ever had cable since I moved out of my parents' house when I was 19.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I had cable too. There was a time when it was $19 or something to have cable to the house. So, well, why not have something when the TV gets turned on? But that's been a long time now with the internet. You've already got the internet. You're already paying for the internet. So just having some kind of box hooked up to your TV that allows you to have, I think there's your widgets or something. I don't know what they're called, but some kind of app that plays either YouTube or Amazon or whatever it might be. Amazon, I think they practically give away those Fire Sticks, or did at one point. So,
and yeah, cable's really expensive. The guy 6 months ago, I moved into this house, and the guy that was living there before us, he was very much into sports ball.
Yep.
And he was like talking about how he's broke and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, well, he's like, I can't find a place any cheaper, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, what do you spend your money on? He gets like $2,500 a month between disability and a little job he works. And he's like, well, my cable bill, $122 a month. I'm like, what? He's like, well, he goes, you can't stream the football game and the Red Sox games. I don't know, he's kind of like a little behind technology, but yeah, I'm like, that's a lot of money, man, just to, watch a government funded subsidized industry. That's all it is as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, once you talk about live sports, that's when that's where they got you. It's they still haven't quite brought that online entirely. I don't know everything. Somebody's probably listening and knows how you can get sports online. I don't know the answer. The number's 855-450-3733. If you've got a retail business and you're looking for a solution for point-of-sale cryptocurrency acceptance, it's never been easier thanks to AnyPay.global. There's no paperwork or approval process to open an account. If you already have a tablet at your cash register, you're almost done. Just sign up at AnyPay.global, and that really it's not very hard. Just drop your personal crypto wallet addresses into their setup page and then load the app. That's it. You're accepting cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Dash and Bitcoin Cash right at your store. Get started now at AnyPay.global. It's AnyPay.global. And it's a great service. Love it. But check it out, AnyPay.global. This story here from the LA Times talking about how for the first time, the percentage of households in the U.S. that subscribe to a digital streaming service, it's more than traditional television, according to the results of a new survey released Monday. Deloitte's 13th annual Digital Media Trends survey found that 69% of respondents have at least one streaming video subscription, probably Netflix or Amazon Prime.
I use my brother's Netflix account. I don't even have one.
Right. A lot of people, that's the case. Compared with 65% who have a traditional pay TV subscription. So that's cable, not somebody who just has rabbit ears. You could still do that.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, that's pretty. The airwaves. A guy was at his place in Ware the other day, and he was telling me how he gets 85 channels, and he's got the antenna pointed towards Boston. So
I can't believe you can get that.
Yeah, well, he's on a good spot. He's definitely got a clear shot to Manchester, and he picks up a ton of Boston stuff. And it's HD. It's like the high definition. It's not like your old 440 hertz, rabbit ears deal. This is and he's got a rotator thing. He can turn it he says there isn't much in Concord, but he can get a lot of stuff. And he was
it's a rotator. That's the issue. It's
right,
a directional antenna.
But he gets like an ESPN 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And he gets like a Fox 1, 2, and 3. He gets like a couple different NBCs. I mean, a lot of them are overlapping the same shows, but like some of the content is different. And there's a lot of like there's all kinds of stuff on it. I don't know, but he likes it because he dumped cable because he got that digital. I think it's a digital broadcast or something. I don't know. It's a high frequency, like it's a small antenna.
Yeah, I would think the antenna would have to be directional in order to pick it up.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
The finding, let's say 65% who have traditional pay subscription. The finding underscores the continued popularity of services such as Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime as more customers become disenchanted with the high costs associated with cable and satellite packages. And they are. And as more people leave, it seems like the prices continue to get higher. When the economic downturn hit, and I think this was like 2008 or whatever, we tightened our belts there at my house, and we got rid of everything that we didn't have to have. And we went through each thing and looked at it and like, can you give up this? Can you give up that? Just looking at everything. And yeah, we could absolutely give up. At the time, I think we had Dish or something, and just cut it. And we've never gone back. We haven't had anything there for over 10 years. Now we've got a TV with it's like an old PlayStation 3 that the Amazon Prime, and YouTube is cycled through, and that's it.
So you could go buy like a $50 smartphone at Walmart and stream about any service. All these smartphones now, you can go USB to an HDMI.
Oh yeah, you could do that.
They work pretty good. But like, I wonder on that, how many people who still have actual cable subscriptions are. How many of those people are under 40? I bet you probably a few. Because like my grandparents, they got to have cable. My one grandmother needs it to watch the Red Sox. My other grandmother, wants to watch CSI and all these crime investigation shows in the nightly news. And I'm like, so I'm showing them both. You could just do this on the internet.
Yep.
You don't need to have that cable.
My mom doesn't want to consume it that way.
And then
same deal.
So I bet you if you looked into the age category, it's going to be a lot of people that are, north of 40 that are still subscribing.
Probably 10 years ago on Free Talk Live, we had a story where they found somebody who was still renting their AT&T telephone from the local AT&T affiliate. Now, I didn't even know what this meant. But apparently, you didn't used to, before I was a kid, before I was born, you didn't used to be able to own a phone. You had to rent it from AT&T because they had the monopoly. And if you lived in the same place long enough and you didn't change your plan long enough, then you could potentially still be today renting a phone and paying the old phone rates and all that stuff. And likely, and of course, the person who was doing this was probably in their 80s, 70s, or 80s or something like that. And, they hadn't moved and didn't have a lot of knowledge about phone plans or anything. So they just continued to do the same thing over and over again. But it just baffles me that some customer service person that they must have talked to, a few of them over the course of decades, that they didn't come up and say, this is a terrible deal.
Well, I mean, unless you're wanting to, like, dump them. Like I just dumped Verizon the other day, right. And they're like, "Oh, we could give you." I'm like, "Listen, I'm done with you guys. Can you give me?" Here's what I said to them: "Can you give me a deal where I paid no taxes?" Like, what are you talking about? Well, do you have an exemption number? Blah blah blah. I says no. I says, but when I go buy a Straight Talk card at Walmart in New Hampshire, it's $45 and no tax. If I buy it in Massachusetts, I pay sales tax on it. But these people have been renting the phone for $4 a month for 25 years probably, and the customer service associate is not going to try to talk them out of it, and the only time, it's someone who's been doing this probably doesn't even know they're renting it.
Probably not.
They're just paying the bill.
Have a clue. It's just all part of the package.
Mm-hmm.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. Talk Live. You're free to call in and talk about whatever you want, but we're talking about this sea change here where apparently more Americans now are using streaming services than they are sort of paid cable and dish type services. I'm amazed by it. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
I guess it had to happen at some point, but I didn't think it was happening so quickly.
Well, it was just like the same thing, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years ago, that it became more cell phone numbers than actual landline numbers. And I remember that was like a big deal when that happened. But of course, I mean, cell phones are convenient. You know, with landlines, you have to use the conglomerate that has the local monopoly. I mean, wait till we get this like mesh network thing going that we've been working on, to where we can, via mesh network, we can choose any internet service provider we want. Or when the technology gets good enough to where satellite internet can be, affordable enough to use, that we can just work off whoever's satellite we want, and there's actual real competition, because it's like Ernie Hancock says, freedom is 62 miles up. If you can get a satellite in the air, and we get the satellite data packets get good enough for, all this streaming and all the crazy stuff we want to do, we could have probably some really good choices then.
Is it? Ernie's obsessed with that kind of stuff, and he's got some really great ideas. Is it Pirates Without Borders?
Pirates Without Borders, yeah. And everybody's been hearing, the letters of marque and reprisal that him and Davi Barker and a bunch of people have been working on, on the, if you listen to the LRN feed or Twitch feed, those come on in the commercials.
We play those on Free Talk Live's regular commercials, so they're not just there; they're on radio stations across the U.S. Mainly because Ernie is such a dynamic and brilliant individual. I think that I want people to be aware of what he's working on and what he's talking about, because he's an amazing guy. I
spent a couple days up there with Ernie up in Maine, and I've loved Ernie for years. I mean, he's such a ball of energy. He's so much fun. I had a great time working with him for a few days. And he does a lot of good things.
I want to thank the amplifiers for amplifying Free Talk Live, especially C-Haw. I guess it's like yeehaw, like see-hee-hee-haw-haw-haw. For amplifying us at the silver rate. Thank you, C-Haw. If you want to support Free Talk Live and what we do, which is to bring the message of liberty to people 7 nights a week here on the airwaves, go to amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. The survey, which they're talking about here with the streaming services, found that the average consumer subscribes to 3 streaming services, that binge watching continues to be a popular activity, with 91% of U.S. millennials saying that they have watched 3 or more episodes of a show in a single sitting. And I guess I have done that. I don't do it often. But 3 services, by no means am I going to pay that kind of money. I'm not getting back on the cable train by having, I don't even know what they cost, but I think of it as like $8 or $9 for a streaming service is what I imagine as far as the number goes.
Per month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have Amazon Prime, that's included in your Prime account.
Right, but half the reason we have Amazon Prime at my house is because of the streaming service. And the other half is shipping. What about you guys? What do you have at your house there, Angie?
We have Amazon Prime, and my son, Mikey, has Netflix. We don't even have a TV at our house.
So what do? They just put it on the computer?
Yeah, we have laptops, computers, and everybody watches their own thing when they want to. Everybody has their own setup.
Huh.
So you guys don't have like family movie night?
No, well, if we do it on my MacBook Pro in the living room on the rug, and everybody gets popcorn and sits together.
There you
go. We have a projector, and that works pretty cool because you can do it either from my phone or my wife's phone. And she has Prime and Hulu, but I think we're going to get rid of Hulu because the last couple of times we watched something on Hulu, there's commercials, and most of them are commercials for pharmaceutical and
first you pay and then you get a commercial
crap. So I'm like, let's just get rid of that. We don't need that. And then I use my brother's Netflix, which you can, like 5 people can work off the same Netflix account, I guess.
I watched some movie not too long ago. It was 10,000 BC a few nights ago. Not the greatest, certainly not the most historical movie I've ever seen, but it wasn't terrible either. It had all the elements of a fine movie. And I got to see it through Amazon Prime, but it was one of the services on Prime where they offer this third-party service, and it had ads in it. It probably had 10 or 12 ads, which, mind you, if you were watching a 2-hour movie on broadcast television, you just saw a heck of a lot more than 10 or 12 ads in that time frame. But I was just kind of like, this isn't so bad. I could live with it. I didn't have a particular problem with it, but at the same time, every once in a while, you'd be like interrupted in your viewing. Many consumers experience frustration with streaming services content, with 47% saying they need multiple subscriptions to watch everything they want, and 57% saying shows that they enjoy have disappeared from streaming services. As a matter of fact, it's my understanding that Disney is intending to roll out a streaming service here in the relatively near future.
Yeah, Brian Sovereign was talking about that the other day, actually.
They are Sovereign Tech.
Yep, Sovereign Tech.
Yep, you can search that. When Disney goes off of any of these other streaming services, the reason we have intellectual property laws in America is because of Mickey Mouse. Disney is the biggest proponent of intellectual property. Once they pull their content from these services, then these services are going to look a lot less attractive when you can no longer get Mary Poppins and all the Disney movies. And then don't forget, they own all the Marvel content.
I was going to say,
now.
They've been buying up all kinds of IP like crazy, too.
They've got
all
Star
the cool
Wars
stuff.
Yep. And they pretty much... there's a lot of content that Disney has, and once they open their own streaming service, they've got it all.
You know what drives me nuts? Not so much really in the libertarian community, but like some of my family, and like they're all talking about how they watch like all these like episodes and all this stuff, and I'm like, how do you get anything done? But it's like, these are the people that that their kids are watching, some brown guy mow the lawn, so they're not watching mom and dad do it, and mom and dad don't mow the lawn. They're hiring someone to do it, and they're not, it takes more effort to have your kid mow the lawn than to go do it yourself half the time, so they're not even doing that. So this is like where this man camp comes in.
That's because of bad parenting up to that point.
Well, and it's just, but it's like, man, TV rots your mind. And it's just, some people watch a lot of TV.
Yeah, there was a time when I almost entirely played console video games rather than watching television. I didn't even understand it, but
at least that's interactive.
Yeah. At some point or another, it kind of switched over for me, and now I'm generally watching, some movie, or if I'm watching, I'm generally going to watch a movie or something. There's none of these shows have really tickled my fancy, at least since Rome, which was an HBO show from probably 10 plus years ago, and I really haven't had anything since then that's really got me terribly excited. I know a lot of people like Game of Thrones is a big one, and like The Living Dead.
I was a big Breaking Bad fan.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was a huge one. I remember Lost. A lot of people were into that one.
That one.
Yeah,
I did watch Lost when I was in Colorado, but one of my Hey customers a couple weeks ago, she was like, "You better not show up here after 7:00 because I'm in the house and I'm watching my shows." And I'm like, what day? Every day, she tells me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it was just, sometimes I drive down to Cape Cod with some hay and I don't get to her place maybe till 7. So I got to make her the first stop, and but
7:00. At least she's got a time.
Yeah.
I do think you have to protect your personal time to some extent, in the sense that I have a little advisory on my email that says, hey, look, I work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yep, I've seen it.
If you've got an issue, it's going to be handled between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. It's not going to be handled after that, because in today's connected world, people sort of have an expectation that if they send you something at 5:15 that you're going to handle it. Well, no, I'm not. I've got to do 4 days a week on the air. That's 3 hours plus the show prep time, which can be a couple hours on top of that. And then I've got to run the ads for the show and all those things. No, I don't have time to just go chasing after whatever the little minutia is, and somebody will always give it to you. So when I get off the air here at 10 p.m., yeah, I'm going to go home, I'm going to watch a movie, and I'm going to go to bed.
A guy I do some work for, he's got a rental business in Ware. He was just telling me, Ware, New Hampshire, that in Ware, yeah. And he shuts off, has it set up so all his work-related communications, except for his emergency phone number, shut off at 5 p.m. and turn back on, I think, at 8 a.m. because it's just phone's just buzzing constantly.
Right.
Otherwise,
I imagine that's true for lots of lines of work, but it certainly is for mine and probably is for yours, too. The number, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450, free as in freedom. What's a fair number of hours to protect for yourself, for your time and your family? Free Talk Live.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
It's the third hour of Free Talk Live. And, of course, you are welcome to call in and talk about what you want. We're reading a story here, started in the last hour, from the LA Times about how people are, like, cutting the cord is no longer a marginal activity. More people have streaming services now than paid sort of dish and cable services, satellite and cable. I was really surprised by the number that it happened so soon, but I guess it makes sense. It found that the survey found here that 43% of customers gave up, that they have got this frustration as to how difficult it can be to find shows on the streaming services. And 43% of customers gave up on the search for content if they can't find it within a few minutes. So this is more information for the streaming services to know about.
People are so impatient. I mean, for the past, 2 decades, it's literally been just more instant gratification has become more gratifying and more instant. So when people, just get a little hiccup, they're just like,
that's it.
They don't know what to do with
Call
themselves.
an expert.
They just give up.
Yep. Pay money. Overall, consumers say they're getting much of what they want, but are frustrated by the complexity and effort to get it. And admittedly, television is easier, right? You turn it on and you switch the channel.
There it is.
And that's it. You're going to get what you're going to get. Whereas these
you're going to get a bunch of lies and propaganda. I mean, I tell people all the time, they're like, well, how do you tell if it's fake news? I go, easy. There's going to be commercials for pharmaceuticals, and there's going to be commercials for military. Join the National Guard, this sports ball team, and, some pill. That's the way I look at it. And that's all cable TV really is, with the occasional truck and car commercial.
Despite the rising popularity of streaming, the survey also showed that many households continue to value both streaming and pay TV. God, how much does this cost? With 43% of U.S. consumers having subscriptions to both. Now, I know that at one point, I think it was 2005, at the height of the economic boom there before it all fell apart, Americans were spending more than they made, which I found to be a frightening number. And this sounds like this is going to start happening again. Once you hear that statistic,
now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not changed.
$80,000 for a new pickup truck.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, and you're seeing and everywhere, I look at Craigslist almost every day. First thing when I wake up, I look at Craigslist. I have been for, 20 years ago, I was opening want ads. The day it came out, I spent that whole couple hours looking through that thing. But there is just I'm seeing things on Craigslist, like these dump trucks. Oh, I'm half interested in that thing. It's like $2,000, needs some work. Well, it's like $800 now, or it's, and then, I just watching all these things on Craigslist, and this is, I would see it in the want ads, 15 years ago, some just started being a lot of things, and the next week it was a couple hundred cheaper, same ads. There's just a lot of surplus stuff out there. There's a lot of people trying to sell things, and things aren't moving. And it's $80,000 to $90,000 for a new pickup truck. That is nuts.
It's true that's what they cost now. It's an amazing amount of money.
84 month. I was at a Ford dealership, get a part the other day, and I see a big thing. You can get your truck for $84 a month, or 84 months, and it was 0 down, blah, blah, blah. F-150's got, like, you know, everything an F-150 could have, and 84 months. The truck ain't going to last 84 months.
Once you find, what was that?
It's not going to last here for 84 months.
No. Well, the F-150 now has an aluminum.
That is true.
So maybe it'll go a bit longer, but
just like all this other smart stuff, it's like as soon as everybody starts getting all smart appliances, and just like what they did with the cell phones, you know, Brian Sovereign, I listen to his tech show a lot, Sovereign Tech, and he's always screaming about how like iPhone and this, so that when the iPhone gets a couple of years old and there's like a new greatest one out, they just, you know, they just do an update, and what does that update do? It incrementally makes the phone
slows it down.
Yeah.
Well, you can make your dishwasher stop when it's smart. Your everything, all this smart stuff is just you could put the planned obsolescence right in it. You don't have to design it so it holds a little bit of salt every year and rots out like your truck did. You know,
my F-350 just fell apart. I mean, it was being held together by the paint in some places.
Literally. And but same thing with all these newer cars. They're just, the check engine light won't shut off. I got to keep on bringing it in. And then what was it? A hot tub my uncle got. The lady he got it from gave it to him, and she bought like a $500 or $600 chipboard from the guy. Come out and he charged, and he said, "Oh, he needs a chipboard." It was like $600 bill, and he put the chipboard in it, and still didn't work. Well, what we can do is we can credit you towards a brand new hot tub.
Oh my!
Like they're like, I don't even know. They're
$10,000.
Yeah, I was going to say $7,000-$8,000, and she, I'll just buy a new one, and and they probably made $2,500 off delivering her and bringing her a new hot tub. I mean, they were happy to throw $600 at it and then credit it to her. And these car companies, they're doing the same thing. They're giving and that's another thing too. They're giving you like $3,000 for your trade-in car, and then they're running them through the auction. And a lot of these things are just, they're going to South America, and they're bringing like half the money that the dealers give for them. They don't care. There's so much markup on them,
right?
And the dealers are making all the money off your 84-month financing.
Yeah, your interest.
The interest.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, getting people into debt slavery is the system. There's no doubt about it. I believe that once we see that turn again, where you see the statistic where Americans are spending more money than they're making, and this is an aggregate, right? They've spent more money than they make. Not an individual, because there's lots of individuals you can find that do that, but like American citizens have spent more money than American citizens have made. Well, that's when the next economic collapse comes.
And when you keep on just injecting cheap money into the marketplace, and Max Kaiser does that Kaiser Report. I really like his show a lot, and he was talking about it was I might be misquoting him, but something like that the Federal Reserve reported for like last quarter of 18, something like $700 million in car loans that are 90 days delinquent.
Oh boy!
And there's 1.2 or 1 point something trillion dollars in the schooling loans, college loans that are in default. And
what are they going to do with a college loan, though? I mean, if you don't pay the car loan, they can come get the car. But if you don't pay your student loan, there's really nothing they can do. They don't really, they at some point or another, it's all going to collapse. But who's going to be harmed? I don't know if it's the people that have the degree.
Well, the real thing is where did the money come from?
Out of thin air,
right? So when you start doing this forensic accounting that some of these guys are really into, and you start asking the credit issuer, okay, I'll be willing to pay the debt. Who was the debt borrowed from? We need to know who the debt is borrowed from. And they can't tell you. They just can't tell you. And this is like some kind of like scheme of like getting out of paying credit cards and stuff. And I actually had a credit card that once they stopped taking the third-party checks I was sending them, I just whacked it out and never paid it. And they would call me up, and I'd be like, yeah, I'd be happy to pay whoever the debt's owed to. Who owns the debt? Oh, go to Capital One. Oh, can you prove that? And I would just talk with these guys on the phone while I was driving a truck. I had nothing better to do and just have fun with them. And eventually, nothing ever came about it. But the thing is all funny money made out of thin air, and you better get some crypto. You better get some peer-to-peer, because when it all collapses, it's going to spiral out of control quicker than any of us can believe.
How about you, Angie? Your household have student debt?
I have about $3,000 in student debt, and Michael has student loans that he hasn't paid in years.
Hasn't paid in years. Yeah, my wife, we just finished off the student debt for her. You know as well as I do, she hasn't had a job in 10 years.
Yep.
More than 10 years.
Well, she's a mom.
Yes,
that's a big job.
I understand, but she's not getting a W-2.
No.
And one wonders what, in many cases, what these student loans are good for. You get these degrees, and I'm not saying that they're all completely useless. There's certainly some things you have to have them for. The STEM fields, I think it's the best thing to have it for. But watch out when it comes to that debt. It's the thing that's really going to eat you up. You make a decision now, you think that you're going to want to stick with it, and life changes.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you've been paying on that student loan and you owe more than this loan originally was for.
Yep.
That's like nuts.
That's what's killing our next generation. Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
The number is 855-450-3733. It's 855-450. Free as in freedom. In the previous segment, we were talking about how the finances were changing here in the U.S., and that it looks like people were taking on more and more debt. And that's kind of a scary statistic. But there's some good statistics, too. And I've got them from fee.org. That's the Foundation for Economic Education, fee.org here. And we'll get into them here in just one second. But I want to go to the Christian Anarchist calling in on the Discord line. By the way, if you want to sound as good as Christian Anarchist does, you just go to discord.freetalklive.com and download the app there, and it'll sound great.
The guys in the Discord said you'd never get to me.
Well, I just saw you just now. I'm not. I'm certainly not as good as Ian at seeing all these different places that people might call in.
Actually, this is about the shortest time I've ever waited. You just came right on after
Excellent.
I got up. So that's great. I wanted to talk about what you were talking about earlier about the electronics and everything breaks down. You pretty much can't expect anything to last 5 years anymore because of the electronics. Something's going to break, and either the part's not going to be available, or it's going to be so expensive that you can't afford to buy it. You can go buy a new appliance.
And a lot of times the part, it costs what the appliance costs.
Yeah, I've been fixing some appliances because I get free appliances and I just fix them.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing I've been doing is these diesel trucks, these older diesel trucks, the 98 to 2002 Dodges have a chipboard that goes bad in the injector pump. So I've actually gotten pretty good at fixing that one particular transistor that burns out in the injector pump. But now what's happening, I was actually talking to some guys that get into computers and stuff, is, they're literally, the new chips are so small that, it's just, chipboards are so small, it's, impossible for the human hand to actually fix them. You have to have the very precision robotics. It's like doing some kind of surgery on a lot of these chips now. There's there's very little fixing them in your backyard or in your garage.
This is the main reason that these really expensive Mercedes-Benz. I've owned several used Mercedes, and they're all a nightmare to repair. But the new ones are even worse, because if you look in the eBay or anywhere for older Mercedes luxury cars, the ones that have all the bells and whistles, their depreciation is horrendous. They're worth about 10% of what they were new if they're 10 years old, because
even less I've seen.
Yeah, it costs so much to fix the darn things that if you have one, it's like having a curse. Here, I'll give you my old Mercedes, and because I hate your guts,
right?
That kind of thing. And
let me ask you this, guys. Between you, Christian Anarchist, and Jay, I feel like I can get an answer to this. If I wanted to get a vehicle that was never going to have some kind of computer problem, I'm just talking about a basic vehicle, right? Rack and pinion steering, combustion engine, that kind of vehicle.
I would recommend diesel.
Okay, I'm with you.
believe it or not, I have a car here that I'm fixing up that I've had for many, many years. It's a 1984 Oldsmobile diesel station wagon. I think I have the only one in the country. And there's no electronics on it at all. It's got a manual injection pump. It's got an electric, you've got your starter. And once it starts, it just runs, it's a diesel.
You have an electric solenoid that shuts off that pump, but that's not a big deal to actually on that Standardine pump to convert into a Standardine's the manufacturer of that pump to convert into a full manual shutoff.
I also have a 94 Chevrolet pickup truck diesel that was the first year of the electronic injection pump, and I had so much trouble with it that I paid something like $1,700 to convert it back to the manual pump. So now I've got a manual pump 1994 diesel truck. But I always recommend for people, if they want to have a good, reliable used car, to buy a light-duty pickup truck, a full-size light-duty pickup truck, because the gas is going to cost you more, of course, but all of your repair bills are going to be cheap. There's going to be parts available everywhere, and the parts are going to be cheap. So even the electronics. Is that
like a Chevy 1500 or a Ford F-150?
Yeah, Chevy, Dodge, Ford, doesn't matter. You get one of those, the 1500 class of pickup trucks. They've got the smaller tires, which cost less. If you get the 3/4 ton or something, you've got the really expensive tires. And
I know that's true.
Yep.
Well,
and, everything else is more expensive on it, but it's just a good, cheap economy car to get around in if you just want something that's not going to break and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to fix.
I've heard you actually say that on a show one time, Christian Anarch, as well as driving. And I wanted to tell you this for actually a little while now. My recommendation is a 1994 to 1994 to 1998 Dodge Ram 2500 or 3500 with a Cummins 5.9 diesel and manual transmission is the absolute most reliable factory-produced truck ever built, because it has a mechanical injection pump that looks like a little mini six-cylinder pump. It's called a P7100 Bosch pump. It is almost literally bulletproof. You don't have. I know guys, they've driven these trucks 500,000-600,000 miles. I got one right outside. It's got 380,000 miles on it, and mine's a little newer. It's got the 24 valve with an electric over manual pump. But and the thing is if you get a manual transmission Dodge pickup truck, no problem, 20 miles to the gallon if you drive it carefully. No problem. You want to start doing modifications.
And now, what is the name of this vehicle again that you're talking about? Because so many things have passed by through my brain. I have no idea what you've just said.
1994 to 98 Dodge Cummins pickup truck.
Okay. Diesel.
Diesel, yes. Has to have the diesel. It's an inline six diesel. It makes, quadruple the torque and twice the horsepower of any comparable factory, gas job, and it will get, 2 to 3 times the fuel mileage of the gas job because there's more energy in diesel fuel and it makes it lower RPM. And especially if you start like advancing the timing, putting aftermarket, turbos on them, and really high gear ratios, and get use the torque to go down the road. I have helped guys build trucks that are getting two-wheel drive trucks now that are getting like 28 to 30 miles to the gallon, but they're driving them like 58 miles an hour too.
And that was one of the things that I hated about the diesel cars, because we had diesel engines for 100 years that were reliable. They would last 300,000 miles, at least 300 to 500,000 miles, and nothing ever broke on them, and you didn't have to tune them up until they started messing with them and adding the electronics. Now all of a sudden some of these diesel engines are a total nightmare. But yeah, that older Cummins that doesn't have the electronics, that's definitely a good way to go.
I think a lot of people like these for bug out vehicles. They want something that if, I don't know, the EMP hits or whatever the situation is, they want a vehicle that they can count on through thick and thin that'll get them through just about any situation. And does that sound like that sort of vehicle?
The second gen Dodge Cummins 12 valve is what it's called. Yes, is that vehicle. In fact, I've built a couple of these bug out trucks, 2 of them. Particularly, and I have one sitting in my yard right now.
So people would just find that by looking on Craigslist or something?
Yeah, second-gen Dodge 12 valve, absolutely.
Free Talk Live.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
If you love what we do here on Free Talk Live, which is to bring live radio to you, that you can call in and talk about whatever you want and bring the message of liberty to people 7 days a week here on Free Talk Live. Why don't you check out the Amplifier program? You could become an amplifier like Brian Painter did. He's a platinum amplifier. But we ask just $5 a month for our AMP program. And lots of perks. I think you'll really appreciate it. Just go to amp.freetalklive.com. If you like what we do, it's a perfect place for you. amp.freetalklive.com. So we had some sort of bad economic news there previously when we were talking about Americans' debt-to-income ratio going up. But I think we should get some good news from fee.org, the Foundation for Economic Education. The world's poorest people are getting richer faster than anyone else. In 1820, this is a ways off, right? 1820 has been a long time ago. 94% of the world's population lived in extreme poverty. That means you don't know where your next meal's coming from. Your house is basically a shack, right? And this was true in the United States. The number wasn't quite as high as 94%, but it wasn't much better.
Yeah.
1820, I mean, there's no plumbing. There's no basically entertainment might be somebody coming over with a musical instrument and Pa and him playing on the porch and drinking some whiskey. That'd be it.
And the drinking water is right next to the pooping hole.
Yeah, it's true.
In most of those houses.
In 1990, 34.8% of the world lived in extreme poverty. And in 2015, just 9.6%. So we went from 94% to 35% to basically 10% of the world in extreme poverty in a historically relatively short period of time, 200 years.
And what brought us that?
Well, the Industrial Revolution.
I believe free markets.
Well, free markets, yes. They didn't really understand free markets in the same way in sort of like medieval Europe or something like that. It was always, one of the ruling class, the baron, the duke, somebody was getting their cut, and they decided who could sell and who couldn't, who could travel and who couldn't. Those aren't free markets. On last Tuesday marked the 25th anniversary of the United Nations International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. The date intentionally coincides with the 30th anniversary of the call to action, which saw the French anti-poverty campaigner Father Joseph, I should have practiced this ahead of time, Rezinski, ask the international community in front of 100,000 Parisianers to strive to eradicate extreme poverty. To mark the occasion, Antonio Guterres of the United Nations Secretary General was featured in a short video assessing the current state of world poverty. Despite noting such issues as unemployment, inequality, and conflict continuing in some regions, Guterres correctly observed that since 1990, the world has made remarkable progress in eradicating poverty. While it is valuable to acknowledge that problems remain, it is important to reflect on just how far we've come. And if you listen to those that would create derision, they would say that everything's getting worse economically. Those that are making the most money have, X number of dollars more than, everybody else and these sorts of things.
Well, the elite at the top are certainly skimming more and more and more and more and more and more, and then, fake money. But, with technology, I mean, you can't grow a bushel of corn any cheaper today any other time in history than you can today.
Yeah.
Even organically.
And if you think about, say, a chicken and what it costs to get a whole chicken, a whole chicken can feed a family. If you make it, you're probably talking some kind of stew or something like that. But you could make a chicken feed a family, and I'm talking a family like yours, where the kids outnumber the adults.
Well, 50, 60 years ago, your average broiler chicken was I don't know, like 3 or 4 pounds or something. And today that average chicken is
5.5.
It's like 7.6 actually, because my buddy Silver Dave is really into doing his natural earth fitness thing, and this is the thing he's talking about, that the chickens basically are bred to be big and fat, and they're given like hormones, and they're fed a lot of genetically modified food, and they're fed, government subsidized food, which is all the cheap stuff at the big poultry farms. So when you can, consume that, factory farm raised chicken or pork or look at some of these breeds of beef cows. I mean, they look like scary. Some of them get like over 18 months
Muscle
old.
bound, yeah.
They're just like massive, and you see them in these animal rescues, like some of these Angus and Hereford cross cows. They're just like they're like 8 years old, and they're just look so huge because they're designed to. They're basically engineered to slaughter them before they're 18 months. The meat packers don't want them after 18 months because the spine's too big to deal with, and they're just you just go to these catalogs, and the big ones start bringing like 60 cents a pound, and the ones that are prime are bringing $1.50 a pound. That's a big loss. And
I would think you could use those as stew meat or something.
You sure can, but like they're not going to buy them unless they're really cheap. And like with the cattle industry, the big market here. There's 2 places. One's owned by Cargill, and the other one's owned by another Monsanto company, actually in Pennsylvania. Is
that in the U.S. or?
They're in Pennsylvania. These things run 24 hours a day. I think the Moyer is not called Moyer anymore.
They're running an auction.
No. This
at 2 o'clock in the morning.
No. Oh, all the time. No, this is a slaughterhouse.
Okay.
So like Moyer is not called Moyer anymore. It's a family owned it, but now they're slaughtering like 7,500 head a day there, and then the Cargill one, which is in Pennsylvania, also is somewhere around that. It's just these factories, but they won't buy like the guys that buy those cows for them. There's another slaughterhouse in Granville, New York, called Champlain Beef, and they'll buy like a lot of these really big cows. That like because they want, if the cow don't fit in a chute, it don't fit their deal. They don't even want it there because it just screws up production.
Yeah,
and like 18 months for an Angus cow, for example, is like what they want, because it's basically that's the efficiency rate on the factory farming. And same thing with the chickens. These chickens, cage free, but there's they got a million of them, inside a half acre. Some big airplane hangar building.
They might as well be in a cage because they can't move around much. But they're bred in such a way they can't move around anyway. But I've seen these even the free range organic chickens that are chickens for eating, not for laying. These things aren't getting up and walking around. They're not picking up for bugs or anything. They're stuck.
Oh, right. So when you buy the Colonel Sanders white, I can't remember what the actual breed is, but they call it like a something broiler. I'll think about it afterwards. And Cornish hen, as I believe was called, a Cornish broiler or something. They're the white chicken with
I thought Cornish was a little one, but all right.
Maybe they're.
I thought Cornish was a little one.
You might be right. I can't remember. But anyways,
it looks like a foghorn leghorn.
Yeah, foghorn leghorn chicken. It's not the Cornish. You're right. Yeah. But anyways, they after about 10 weeks old, they can't walk. You really need to slaughter them at like 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Or it just starts getting ugly for them. And they get so huge. And in 8 weeks, these things are like, dress weight. They're like 6.3 pounds.
I don't think people understand that they're eating pullets, not chickens. They're eating really young birds generally. I mean, I eat chicken. It doesn't stop me from eating chicken.
Well, and people want them young because that young chicken is tender.
It sure is. Right. If you get that, if you've ever had a fried chicken, if you try to fried chicken, say at home versus you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, there's a difference in the consistency of the meat and these kinds of things. And a lot of people they're not used to it and they don't like it anymore.
Yeah, like the egg laying operations, when they're done with those hens, they'll go to like Kentucky Fried Chicken, and then and it was one of the big buyers of them. And I dealt with some of these guys in Colorado. My stepfather supplied these guys with some feed and stuff. And then I go, what happens to these chickens? They go, well, the good ones go to Kentucky Fried Chickens. The not quite so good ones go into Campbell's Soup. Right. That's basically what he said.
That's true. If it gets a little older, they don't want it for a piece of fried chicken. Nobody's going to want that. It has to be premium if you're going to take it off the bone like that. But if you just got Chico bits that are going into pressed part of chicken noodle or whatever, nobody cares what that. But it's chicken flavored.
When you fry it, that it's more tenderized than if you're actually grill it. it's going to be a softer, juicier chicken.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. The final segment of Free Talk Live, and, well, I don't know. You probably can't get through, but I'll give the number just in case. The number is 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. It's Mark with you.
Angie here.
And Jay.
And let's go right to the phones and not piddle around here. Let's go to David calling in from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, Mark and folks, did you, in your Free State project, first let me preface that with, in New Mexico, I told you before about how the governor, the Democrat power structure is implementing, they passed all these gun laws, red flag laws, and background check, stuff like that, and that of the 33 counties in the state of New Mexico, 29 of the sheriffs said they won't enforce them, and 25 of the county commissions voted to back up their sheriffs and say that no county money will be spent to enforce what they consider to be illegal laws. And that effectively, that type of action, when the sheriff backed up by the county commission, which is which is backed up then by the people in these rural counties mostly, say that we're not doing that, we're not following that. They're essentially telling the people that want to oppress them to go to hell, and it's working. It's working. And so going to your Free State project, when you were doing that in the past, present, and whatever becomes in the future, did you ever consider? Well, first of all, you have one Free State project. One concept I'd like to introduce is, rather than having one place where everybody should move to, my idea is that like the Amish, like the Mennonites, et cetera, the Mormons established many different colonies. And then if you add in the fact that many counties all over America, especially in the West, have very low population. For instance, in New Mexico, there's the lowest population county has 740 people in the whole county.
Really? That's surprising.
So in a situation like that, if you moved in, just a couple hundred people, you could then essentially take over the county as far as putting in your own electeds and be almost immune from the oppression of state and Fed.
I don't know. So the concept behind the Free State Project, and I'm not entirely sure that it's all going to work out or anything. The concept is to move as many liberty-loving individuals to a small state as possible, to pick the state of New Hampshire, and they've had some successes along the way and certainly some failures too. But a state is sort of legally a unique entity in that a county gets its charter from the state. So if a county if for whatever the reason the state decides the county's too much trouble, they can just merge it into the next county over there, and then suddenly all those bureaucratic jobs are gone. Whereas with a state, the federal government really can't do that. All it can do is cut off funding, which is a real problem. But ultimately, the sovereignty lies with the state, not with the feds. The feds have the money-making capability. So that was the reason that they chose a state rather than a county or a city or things like that. There are plenty of places. I mean, every once in a while you'll see town goes up for sale in, usually out west, and you could buy the whole town, right? And then you could have a bunch of libertarians get together in a town and argue about crap there, which is basically what they're going to do anywhere that they go. And there are some counties that are low populated, like you're talking about. None in New Hampshire is low populated as the one you were speaking of in New Mexico. But I don't know that I think that it would be terribly successful if you picked something besides a state. And I'm not sure that the Free State Project itself is going to be successful either. Because unless they can, the problem is that you got to get these individualists to work together, and that's kind of antithetical to what they want to do. Once the go ahead.
But you don't really, with what I'm suggesting, you don't really need to do all that much together. I mean, if you had, like I said, in such a low populated county, if you had just a couple hundred people that moved there, you could essentially be left alone. Because if you're in the county, the law enforcement is the sheriff combined to some degree with the state police, and you don't really have any need for the law enforcement anyway, because nothing really goes on in those small counties.
I think you could fly under the radar for a while, but if the state decided you guys were a problem, they just take away the county's charter, and then they combine you with another county.
But you wouldn't be making any problem. You wouldn't be giving them any problem, because you'd be following the rules that are set up anyway. What I'm saying is, the way that it is now, they're already pretty much left alone. And then if you had a couple hundred people that lived together in one county like that, and you could elect a sheriff and a county commission, and and counties like I'm talking about have very few municipalities, and they don't really matter anyway, because they're like 1 square mile, and most people would be living outside of them anyway, so they don't really matter. And like I said, in counties like this in New Mexico, they're already pretty much left alone and completely on their own. They don't have any. In counties like that, they'll have like one law enforcement person, and if they need more, they literally do like in the Old West, and they deputize and get a posse together. They hardly ever need to do that, but that's what they do. And firefighting, same thing. There is no fire department other than the volunteer, like you're on. Yeah, this is already being done. It's just not done by well, actually, it is done by some libertarians. Oh, in fact, Catherine County, I know for a fact that they had passed, at their county level, they had passed a resolution, memorial, whatever it is, to say that the county wants every citizen to be armed in their county, so that they can do more to protect themselves.
I want to talk about this more, David, but I've got calls coming in, and I've got to take care of them. I appreciate it. The number is 8. I'm giving the number here. Let's just go to Vernon, calling in from New Orleans. Vernon, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yesterday, you all had a conversation about New Zealand making it illegal to upload that video of the New Zealand shooting to the internet.
And today, too, yeah.
Yes. So in addition to that, though, there was the comment, not by one of the main co-hosts, I forget the name, but the comment was that we here in America don't restrict any sort of video uploads, and we have complete and total freedom, but that's not true, especially when it comes to child pornography. So that was one of my points. And then my question was, are you all advocates of being allowed to upload child pornography, which I know Ian defines it before puberty. So if we want to get really technical about it.
That still exists, right? Like people have, terrible videos of prepubescent kids being forced into awful situations. No, I am absolutely not an advocate of that.
No, I'm not either.
But I will say that it is interesting that we, on one hand, we believe that somebody should have the right to upload a video of the shooting at the mosques there, and we believe that's the press, and we believe that's freedom of speech. But there, in some places, they don't even have laws against uploading snuff films. I don't know if you're aware of what one of these is, but it's a disgusting video of somebody being killed, and there's some of these make it around on the internet. I don't know why people want to watch this crap, but they do. I remember when I was in high school, there was this movie series called The Faces of Death.
Oh, I remember that.
And pretty much everybody's seen these things, and they're just this side of a snuff film in that they are videos of people dying in many cases, but they weren't taken in the sense that it was like to celebrate it or anything. It wasn't.
What about your personal opinion about child pornography, however you want to define it, being illegal in the United States? Because like I said yesterday, it's kind of like the co-hosts are all about every single video. Everything should be legal. There should not be anything illegal and all that stuff.
I don't think society can handle the notion of legalized child pornography, even though there is some there's some interesting sort of theoretical aspects to it. But if you were to make it legal in the sense that it's just, you can put it up, you can use it as advertising, you could do whatever. If I can just have a storefront where I'm playing this on a 60-inch TV, no, I can't. I don't think society can handle that. I think it would quite literally crumble.
And also, it just gets too radical because, you know, in states like Arizona, you got two 17-year-olds sending each other nudie pics in high school, and they're both basically arrested on felonies.
Right, and that's the other side of it. Is the the one side or the other. The problem is we don't have a legal apparatus that can handle the nuance that needs to be in place because it's really difficult. Vernon, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about them.
And the other problem is anytime you prohibit anything, I don't care what it is, you just create this black market.
Yeah.
And then violence is going to come out of it. Whether you're prohibiting alcohol, you're prohibiting a species of salad, whatever it may be, you're going to create violence.
Free talk. This is another edition of the Edgington Post Show coming to you from the North American Bitcoin Conference. It's Mark Edge reporting for Free Talk Live. I got Alex Prohorov from Well, the Well Network. Help me out with this. I know the word well is involved here, Alex.
Just remember, joinwell.com.
Joinwell.com. Great. And you've got an interesting idea I spent a little time talking to you about here. You know, you're vetted. I believe this is cool. Tell my audience what you got.
Yeah, we help you get recognized for your everyday wellness activities, and we bring blockchain to help you get rewarded. So effectively, you start mine coin simply just by walking. Download our app.
I mine coin by walking.
Mine coin by walking.
All right. Tell me how I do that.
Well, the first thing you do is you go to your app store on your phone, and you search for Join Well. Just like joinwell.com, put Join Well, find our app, download it, answer a few simple questions, and immediately you will notice that you've earned some coin because you've already been walking and your pedometer in your phone has been keeping track of it.
Okay.
And the more you walk, the more coin you generate.
I guess a sort of a pedometer app that uses, somehow uses your walking to mine coins. Is that the concept here?
Correct. That's exactly right.
So tell me why in the world you're going to give me coin for walking.
Because walking has economic benefit.
Okay.
We think it feels
good.
What is
that? Well, I walk all the time.
Exactly.
Nobody's throwing any money at me. I'm creating energy, like a kind of kinetic energy. I'll give you that. Energy's worth something, but nobody's harnessing it.
Exactly. Well, the fact of the matter is, if you walk a certain amount of steps per day, you get your heart rate going, you feel better. It's a great activity.
Sure. I mean, it's really good for you. You're going to live longer if you walk more, right?
And living longer, which means you will have a chance to earn more money. You'll have a chance to pay more taxes. You will have a chance to spend more money.
Yep. Okay.
And there's a lot of brands that love people who spend money.
Right. I would think that like Nestle's and General Mills Foods, maybe they're the same thing. I don't even know. They are. I'm just thinking. There's breakfast cereals. There's those bars. There's everything out there.
Everything out there. Brands want to reach consumers, and every day they spend billions of dollars on Google and Facebook and the likes to reach those consumers.
Right, and they have profiles too. They know, like, if I prefer gray shoes over black tennis shoes, then I'm a certain kind of person, and they know things about me. If I walk, they definitely know things about me already. If I'm willing to put a fitness app on my phone, that they know stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know what, but something.
Something. Yeah. Well, one of the things that we tend to know, that tends to happen is that if you care about your body, you care about how you look, and you care about the health of your body, you tend to be a happier, more productive person. And with that comes an opportunity to have greater savings, greater earning potential, and that's a very valuable thing for a lot of businesses that want to reach you. And what we're saying is, well, if you want to reach these folks, you have to give them something. You have to pay them. And blockchain allows them. So unlike a Facebook that effectively takes money from advertisers and doesn't share anything with them, we allow a mechanism where we want to give those rewards back to you for that behavior.
Okay, so the rewards come to me. And then I've seen situations online, like even social media platforms, where they give you, some kind of currency just for looking at stuff. Here you're giving me currency for walking.
Walking, correct.
Right.
Correct.
That's kind of cool, and it's something I'm going to do anyway. Tell me something about these the sorts of people that are downloading this app. I mean, anybody can go do it, right?
Correct. And the thing is, if you happen to have a phone that doesn't have a pedometer in it, maybe an older model or something like that, then you can go on our website, shop at Join, or just go to joinwell.com, and you'll be able to purchase a device that looks like a Fitbit.
It looks like a Fitbit. Yeah.
But much, much, much cheaper, under $50. We'll deliver it to you, and you can actually see it all the time. So if your phone is on your desk, if you forgot to, one thing I will say, you have to keep the app open in order for the pedometer to sync with the app and with the blockchain. But otherwise, buy the device, get a much better insight into how you sleep.
Mm-hmm. So it tells you your sleep too.
So it monitors your deep sleep, exactly.
Okay. Your phone's not going to do that. The device will.
The device will, exactly.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious here when you're talking about these brands and those sorts of things. Some people that walk are going to be more valuable to these brands than others. Can you tell me, what sort of things they're looking for? And I'm just kind of curious about the whole thing. It seems like somebody would, try to put it on several phones. I don't even know.
This is available for all people. Our app is in 7 languages.
Okay.
It's available in all countries, not just the U.S. There's always a way to game a system. There's a way to hack into Pentagon if you're really, and hack your Citibank if you're really after it. If you want to break something, you can always break it.
Yep.
That's not what it's for. We're going to have some AI and some analytics that show if you're walking 5-10 miles from 2 a.m. In the morning to 9 a.m., chances are you're trying to hack. Or if your regular pattern is 3,000, but all of a sudden you have 50,000 steps in there.
I can't imagine anybody could possibly walk 50,000, but I'll bet you that if you they could game it,
if you're gaming, we're going to come to step it. But the
rewards aren't going to be so high that anybody's going to be dying to beat this system.
Correct. Yeah, this is just a simple way to say thank you, great job, ability for you and your partner, your spouse, to track each other, have a little gamification, and compete and see how many
people are buying these things already. They're buying Fitbits, they're downloading apps, they're using all these things. This basically just does that and gives you a little spiff back and puts you in contact with brands that in all likelihood are things that you're going to be interested in.
That's right. And that's what we want to do. We want to know what you're when you download the app, we ask you, what are the areas of your interest?
Yeah.
So we want to hit you up with the things that you care about. And we want to connect you to the brands that are in your interest category, and they want to find a consumer like you.
So you said that it's in all countries. How? What kind of marketing are you doing globally? I mean, I've just met you here in Miami, so I know I can do it here. I just downloaded the app.
Right. Yeah. So, for instance, we have a bunch of users in Korea, and these users came to us and they said, "We'd love to find a Well device." So we're doing a shipment and we're introducing an e-commerce platform thanks to them because they wanted a Well device. We've got a bunch of users in Europe. What's also different about us is there's a lot of there's some apps out there, and we also have a web-based platform that you can actually log in at health.joinwell.com, use the same credential as your app, and you will see that stored in the cloud. You can share with your physician.
You can say, "Hey, look, I'm really walking, doc.
You're walking, doc." And then you can also, you will also find in our app over 300 different models of glucose monitors, weight scales, blood pressure monitors. So different devices that
How does it get my glucose? Or do I have to?
You have to have a by device. There's a Bluetooth connection that we already have integration. There's about 300 models, as I said.
Okay.
So you can actually integrate that, and that will feed into the app and into the cloud. And if you want to share with a physician, go ahead. If you want to export it, download it on a computer and share the file, great.
I see. So this platform so robust that can handle other information from other devices and these sorts of things. Huh.
Correct.
And that's going to integrate into your sleep patterns, your walking, and all that other stuff.
Yeah. So if you have a mom, for instance, you have older parents.
I have a mom, yes.
Parents who love to monitor their blood pressure.
Yep.
Right now they're kind of.
I should be, but I'm not doing it.
Right. But the older you get, millions of Americans are on on medication that help lower their blood pressure.
Yep.
And they measure that pressure. Well, and we have our smartwatch that we're introducing helps you to monitor it. If you want to get more precise, you can buy a medical grade device through one of our partners, and that syncs to the app, and you'll have that data. You can see the patterns as the medication is working. Oh, hey, guess what? I start walking more, earning more coins. I start eating healthy, and my blood pressure goes down. I start eating less sugar. I have to get off I can get off my medication. You just saved yourself and insurance some money, and they will reward you for it.
Alex, tell me how people can find out more, how they can get involved. I know it's the app is Join Well.
The app is Join Well. The website is joinwell.com. The Telegram channel is Join Well. Find our Telegram. Join our community. Yeah. 10,000 people, and we're excited to welcome you into our community.
Joinwell.com.
Give us your feedback.
Podcast download numbers are the most quantifiable and important numbers that we can show an advertiser. So please, if you've not already done so, subscribe to the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or in the podcatcher of your choice. Ratings and reviews help other people find the podcast, so please give us a rating and review on any podcast platforms that you use. Ratings and reviews are used to move a podcast up in search results, which means it's easier for others to find the show. This is free advertising for us, it's easy for you, and it tells other people that you like the show. Subscribe, give us 5 stars, and leave a review.